VR for about a year now, and still have an adjunct faculty position at the USC Institute for Creative Technologies. I have graduate students I still work with, and fortunately, both jobs are across the same little park in Playa Vista, California, in the Los Angeles area. And yesterday I talked about some of the continuing work we've done at the USC Institute for Creative Technologies and digital actors, and I finished on a project about getting digital actors into virtual reality. It's a little bit of a segue into what I'll talk about today, which is virtual reality on its own, and particularly the efforts that the Google VR group has been working on. And I think actually everyone here has probably seen something that Google has done in the area, because they've been active in virtual reality for a few years now. And one of the first things that they started doing was making cardboard headsets, basically these things you drop your telephone into, your cell phone, and it turns it into a VR device. It's not the most advanced VR device, but it allows you to basically see a wide field of view in stereo, look around, and it tracks your head. And it's something that has gotten VR out to a lot of people and gotten the awareness out there. I think at one point 15 million of these Google Cardboards were sent out with the New York Times one day. And so even my parents got one that way. And of course these can also be branded to match any particular company logo that you like. And so they're often passed out at trade fairs. And while they're working on that, they actually designed, okay, what would be kind of the nicest thing that we could imagine for something that you drop your cell phone into and get a virtual reality device. And that was the idea between the Daydream View headset. When this came out, there was also the announcement of what we really call our virtual reality group, and it's called Daydream. So if you have good people that think of names, you get nice names like Daydream. And this is a Daydream headset. You kind of drop your phone in there. I keep my headphones inside here. And one of the things that it added, besides being much more comfortable than cardboard and having a head strap, it's kind of made out of the same material that a comfortable pair of sweatpants would be made out of, is a little hand controller. So this actually lets you point inside the virtual environment and select different things. And it now supports many different cell phones that are all Android phones that you can put in there, different sizes, different manufacturers. A big announcement was the Samsung Galaxy S8, which is one of the biggest selling Android smartphones, a very nice one. Supports Daydream, so you can run all of the Daydream applications and use it with the headsets. I'm looking forward to trying that out because they have a particularly nice display on there for doing VR. Another great phone to use is Google's own cell phone, the Pixel phone. This came out last year, and they put a lot of attention into trying to make it a good all-around but also compatible Daydream. And one thing I found particularly interesting is, of course, as they do on cell phones these days, they put a lot of attention into how good the camera is. And I knew that one of my research colleagues, Professor Mark Lavoie from Stanford, had started working with Google. And I was vaguely aware that in the Google Research Division, he was working on computational photography algorithms to make cell phone cameras take better pictures. And at SIGGRAPH Asia last year, he and his team published a paper that are the algorithms behind how the Pixel phone takes as good pictures as it does. And in fact, they were quite happy with the fact that the Pixel phone, when it came out, actually got the highest rating of any cell phone in terms of the quality of the images. Particularly happy with the iPhone 7. We're really excited about that. And what it does is actually something that relates to some techniques that I explored in my early research, is that when it takes a photo, it doesn't just take one photo, it actually takes 10 photos at 60 frames per second, super fast, takes a burst of photos, all in RAW mode. And it intentionally underexposes all 10 of those photographs, but then it averages them together. And as it turns out, you can actually win the image noise game a little bit by about a factor of 2 or 3, or actually about a factor of between 4 and 8, so 2 stops to 3 stops. And what happens is that they do motion compensation, even if stuff's moving around between these 10 photos, it lines it all up, averages it together, the noise averages out. It's since they were all underexposed a little bit, they actually have better highlight detail. And because of the averaging, they get better shadow detail. So it actually gets like factor 4 to 8 better dynamic range, and then you can do much nicer photography. Now, if you actually drop your phone into the Daydream headset, there's a user interface that's very friendly. You're in a nice little digital world. And all the things that you can do and the applications that you've bought, or the free applications like YouTube and Google Photos just show up there. You can click any of them. And like any good product launch, there were a number of titles available right when it started out. One of them was a pretty fun video game called Virtual Reality that you play in this headset. And the entire game mechanic is you're actually using the controller to put on and take off other virtual headsets. So they call it virtual reality. You say you solve puzzles, you meet strange friends, you're sort of in a strange robot environment. People ask you to do very silly things with vacuum cleaners and toast. And it takes about 2 or 3 hours to play. It's fun to play in an airplane, I found. You can kind of forget that you're in a middle seat for a while. The main problem is the people next to you want to try it too, so you have to give them a little bit of time. And the other problem is when your airplane actually like turns a little bit, your whole world just starts turning, and it thinks that you're turning, but it's your whole airplane, so you'll have to press the button to like reset your view once it's done with it. The thing that people do in virtual reality more than anything is watch virtual reality video. And the nice thing about this is that instead of a tiny little screen on your phone here, you're enveloped by the environment. You can look around in any direction, and it's stereo 3D in any direction. So there's lots of videos on YouTube that you can play that are stereo 360 or mono 360, and they have to be shot somewhere. There's actually a number of different camera solutions for shooting 360-degree stereo. We're looking at one of them right in front of us here. This is a really interesting camera called a Nokia Ozo that came out right at the beginning of this virtual reality movement. And the one that Google worked on is called the Jump Odyssey. It was a collaboration with GoPro, and they came up with a way to actually synchronize 16 off-the-shelf GoPro Hero 4 cameras. And these are really synchronized, like the scan lines of every single camera with those little orange backpacks on them are absolutely in lockstep sync. And that's helpful if you're going to run the algorithms that stitch these 16 individual views looking around in a circle into the two 360-degree panoramas, the one for your left eye and the one for your right eye. And there's actually some interesting camera ray geometry that you have to come up with to do that. You can find the answers to that in some of the stereoscopy literature, and what's called is omnidirectional stereo. So what happens is that you want to generate effectively the rays that your left eye and your right eye would see as they rotated all the way around. And you look at what rays the camera's got, and you figure out which rays in between the camera lenses or that go straight through the camera lenses are actually available. And through a process of image interpolation, if I click on this, pop back. There we go. So these two images here should be showing how it can actually interpolate between these two views smoothly. So there's some great computer vision experts at Google. They can take two images that are shot a few centimeters apart. They figure out which parts of this image with an algorithm correspond to which parts of this image, and they can synthesize all of the views in between. And that ends up being one of the important pieces of technology for creating these two continuous left eye and right eye panoramas. So if you actually look at what's sitting on the YouTube site, getting fed into the headset, it actually looks like one video stream with a left eye panorama on the top of the video stream and a right eye panorama on the bottom of the video stream. Everything worked out, you don't see any blurry stitching artifacts. And you can see that, if you pause at some point, that there's a bit of a shift in the viewpoint between the two eyes, so you see stereo 3D. And this is from one of the launch videos demonstrating the Jump Odyssey camera. It was directed by Jessica Grillhart, who was one of our creators, called Jump World Tour, and it has several million views on YouTube right now. actually worked with another camera company to try to push this a little bit further. And this is actually a Chinese company called Yi. And the partnership that we have just produced this camera called the Yi Halo. And it also is, in a circle, 16 action sports cameras. But there's a desire to also do a good job of seeing up as well. And Jump Odyssey had a kind of a hole up there, so it was covered up with a blurry cap. It's okay until you look up, you can see up to about here, but then things are missing. So if you have like the amazing Cirque du Soleil bicycles, flying over your head, you want to be able to catch that. So these cameras get about that field of view going out. And one of the funny things that they found is that if they're going to put a top-looking camera into the device, you think maybe you just set it right on top here, but that actually isn't going to get you the closest set of rays to the rays that you're already capturing. You want your cameras to capture as close a set of rays as possible so it's easy to interpolate between them. So if you look at the kind of the extent of the rays that this camera gets here, it's this one, and the rays that this camera gets, it's that one. And so if you put these down to where they converge, you actually wish you could put the top camera down here in the bottom of the device. And then this camera here would right along that ray, and you can get a perfect stitch with all of the cameras around the circle because there's no parallax. So that was a counterintuitive result. Researchers found out that the technical term of matching the rays like this is that this would be an osculating camera. And found the word, I'd never heard the word osculate before. And they even suggested that they put that into the name of the product, and that the people who think of good names for products said that they won't do that. And because that would be a terrible name. And it's now the Yi Halo. And over here you can see, this is actually where that little camera ended up inside. And as a result, it's actually got also much lighter. It has a little bit of a bowl shape. So if you needed to serve some of your tortilla chips after your shoot, then you could just put a napkin down there and it would serve that purpose very nicely as well. It takes beautiful video, and you can already see some Yi Halo videos up on the YouTube site. And there was a very interesting development just about 6 weeks ago at the Google I/O conference. These cameras are very nice. They're a little expensive. They are not a consumer product. They cost thousands of dollars. They're perfect if you're going to go out and shoot professional video, put it on the internet. What can we do that would give people as much of this experience as possible about being able to shoot your own videos in 3D and immersive, and then put them into the headsets? And we found that, for maybe a few $100s, well, maybe we can't give people this entire technology, but maybe we can give them almost half of it. And that was the idea of VR 180. It's incredibly simple. It's incredibly intuitive. Make a camera that has 2 fisheye lenses that both see 180 degrees. This is not hard with modern day optics. Put them the correct distance between your eyes in a small form factor, and then let people shoot VR 180 videos. So in the headset, actually, you have about somewhere between 90 to 110 degrees field of view per eye, depending on which brand of headset it is. So when you're looking forward, VR 180 has everything covered, plus enough to move your head to here or here. And when you get past the edge, then it kind of just goes to like a blurry black edge, and it reminds you, okay, the action is over here. And when you want to watch it, you can go to YouTube VR. There's obviously a VR version of YouTube. Or you can watch these VR 180 videos on regular YouTube as well. And this is something they think will help this become a useful and commonly used file format, because on the computer, when you watch it, it just basically takes the left eye, crops into about maybe 100 by 60 degrees field of view, gets most of what's in the center, and plays it like a regular wide-angle YouTube video. But when you put on a headset and stereo, it becomes immersive. And what's actually being served up by YouTube looks something like this. This is one of the popular videos that came out, and some people sawing through a very large ball of rubber bands. Of course, that's very exciting. Everything looks like it's really coming out at you. Another thing is that this doesn't require any stitching, because you pretty much just undistort the 2 images and put it in the headset. It's a very quick operation. So it's amenable to live broadcast. And they're now live broadcasting a variety of events. My office happens to be close to a YouTube space, And so I get to see a lot of the filming that goes on with some of today's YouTube stars. Many of them are incredibly famous people that I've never heard of, and many of them are born after 1990. And these two of them did a live VR 180 broadcast, and so their fans can put on a headset or even a Google Cardboard and feel like they're right there in the studio with them. And that's something that I think is going to only become more popular. The Daydream Group has a lot of exciting projects and a lot of collaborations throughout Google. And they don't just develop things for Daydream headsets. These are wonderful, but they provide what's called a 3 degree of freedom experience. You can move around this way and this way and look around, but it's not actually sensing how you're moving in space. And so that really, really high-end feeling of actually being there comes with head tracking, and those things are most commonly available. Things like the HTC Vive and the Oculus Rift these days. Google VR actually creates applications for these. One of them is Tilt Brush. That was an acquisition by Google, and that is the premier 3D drawing tool that lets you use your Vive or your Rift controllers and paint in 3D. And they've continuously developed lots more features. They now have special brushes that react to music that you have playing in the background, and they're particularly animated. And it's a pretty remarkable experience to be able to just draw right in front of you. Something that I get lost in and then don't go to bed on time because I'm stuck in it is Earth VR, where you have the entire Google Earth database, and all of a sudden the world is now a model miniature that you can walk around in like a giant, or even go down to street level and see something pretty similar to what you'd see if you were really there. And one of the things that people find most fun to do is find your childhood home, wherever it is, and then try to fly from there to where you live now using the technology. And there's some beautiful models there. There's also the Google Spotlight Stories team, which develops virtual reality stories. This one called Pearl. There is both a 3 degree of freedom experience and a 6 degree of freedom experience. And this actually, in a flat, 2-dimensional form, this same story, directed by Patrick Osborne, was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Animated Short last year. So you get a chance to see that in virtual reality. It's on YouTube. It's in a special app you can run on your phone. That's great. And then there's a new application if you want to do more solid 3D modeling in VR called Blocks. And there's a huge library of these models that people are putting up into a warehouse that you can use to populate your VR scenes. So I mentioned that this particular headset doesn't support the tracking. You need kind of a big PC, and you need cameras looking back at you, or looking, or lasers scanning you in order to figure that out today. Sometime not too far off, there are products announced that will change that, and there will be things that are all-in-one. There's no wires attached. They have cameras on them that look out at the scene, and they have something called inside-out tracking. So you'll actually get that full 6 degrees of freedom. 6 degrees, right? Like X, Y, Z, and then roll, pitch, and yaw. All 6 of those just with a mobile headset. And I think that is going to be what takes us from, the million-some users that we have now of virtual reality to the next 7 millions of users. Very excited about that. Probably my favorite project that's come out of Google, it's kind of research experimental, is something that's called headset removal. This is Avnish Sood, you're going to see in a second from the Google research team. One of the kind of bummers of virtual reality that we have to deal with right now is like, I'm not giving this talk in VR because you couldn't see my face. How could we make it so that you can actually see what my face is doing in virtual reality? That was the idea behind the headset removal project. And this is a little bit of coverage of it. Here's Avnish coming in. And they're going to show some technology that is going to give you the appearance as if you were not wearing the headset. And this is kind of fun. So what they do is they start out by digitizing your face. You just have a depth sensor thing like Microsoft Kinect. It asks you to look in a bunch of different directions, and it takes 3D pictures of your face, of what it looks like